It's good to have you back. Let's bring you this now. South Africa's economic pinch is turning into more of a squeeze, and everything seems to be rising, from electricity to fuel prices, and now the Ukraine crisis threatens to increase food prices. Well, the budget didn't include any major tax hikes, but was there any good news for consumers? That's the big question that our personal finance guru, Maya Fisher-French, hopefully will be answering. Joining us now to discuss this. Maya, good morning to you. So, I mean, this was a relatively tax-friendly budget in that there was no increase in personal tax, and tax brackets were adjusted for inflation, and fortunately no fuel levy increases. So was there any news in the budget that would then impact our investments, good or bad?
Yeah, so first of all, thank goodness for that fuel levy, because, you know, the price of fuel is going up tomorrow, and I think we're all going to be feeling that pain massively. If on top of that, we had another fuel levy, road accident fund levy, I think it could have pushed, well, I think quite frankly, the fuel price is pushing consumers over the edge, and I think a further tax. And I think what's just interesting to note is that it is not since 1990 that the government has not increased the fuel levies. There was obviously a recognition of the burden that consumers are feeling. And certainly there was a very clear line drawn in the sand by National Treasury saying we cannot keep taxing. We're going to have to look at other ways, to possibly increase the tax base. That seems to be a very big thing. In other words, get people who are not paying tax to pay tax. They estimate that could be between 100 billion and 200 billion. So I think that would seem to be very much the line. So from that perspective, it was good news. We also didn't have any increases in things like dividend tax or capital gains tax, which are often a place that one can kind of go to if you're looking as a, when you're trying to collect money, they can often go after investment taxes. So that was a good one. But I think for me, I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't see an encouragement to save. We know we have a very, very low savings rate in South Africa. And we know we have these tax-free savings accounts, which I absolutely love. And for 2 years, we haven't seen the annual limit on that increasing. It's still 36,000 Rand a year that people can invest in those and not be taxed on their growth. So I was a little bit disappointed on that. Maybe we'll see that come through next year. The other one that we didn't get any further information on was retirement reform. And you may remember at the end of last year, National Treasury issued this paper around retirement reform saying they're looking at introducing a two-bucket system, which will allow for partial access to your retirement fund prior to retirement, but combined with compulsory preservation on the remainder of that bucket, or the second part of the bucket. And so that is still out for public comment, and I think that will be very, very interesting going forward. But I get so many people writing to me and asking me, saying, Maya, you remember last year the then Finance Minister Mboweni said, maybe under COVID we could have immediate access to pension funds. That is not likely to happen. I think anything that around retirement reform will be a longer term strategy.
There's also been a lot of talk of a possible wealth tax. Now, was there anything in the budget indicating to that?
There's always this debate about taxing wealth. And we do know globally that actually wealth taxes don't work. They don't work because people who are in that kind of level of income simply move countries. They'll go and change their domicile, or they'll have enough clever people to hide the money. So I think, National Treasury is probably aware of that. However, saying that, they have asked provisional taxpayers with assets above 50 million Rand to declare these assets and liabilities as at market values in their next tax return, the 2023 tax return. So National Treasury said, look, this is to try and find non-compliance, obviously looking for people who've accumulated wealth, but they don't know where it comes from so that they can tax it. But they also did say, and there was a line in the budget that said that this information will, and I'm quoting, help in determining the levels and structure of wealth holdings as recommended by the Davis Tax Committee. So I think, yes, this could possibly be paving the way towards a possible wealth tax. But National Treasury will look at that very carefully, because previous increases in tax rates, so that when we increased the tax bracket from 41% to 45% for people earning 1.5 million or more, they actually saw a decline in taxable income in that bracket, because people immediately change their behavior. So there's always a balance between hiking tax and not putting it up too much that you actually lose your tax base.
All right, we'll leave it there. Maya, thank you so much for this update, and speaking to us, of course, personal finance columnist Maya Fisher-French.